GoPros and selfie sticks, two things I loved so much, I kind of made a career path out of it. Now, I know that sounds weird, but over the past 5 years whilst traveling the world, these two have always been with me documenting all my travels. Let's just say that I've taken enough selfies for me to justify making this video for you today. So here it is, how to improve or get better at taking selfies on your GoPro. Let's go. So today we're filming this video at this awesome abandoned place I managed to find here in Mexico. It's right on the beach, which is really cool. Well, I thought it was abandoned, but there was a guy just in the back of my introduction, which I just saw on the replay. What? Anyway, it doesn't matter. There's a really cool abandoned building, there's palm trees, there's the beach, and there's the ocean. So there's gonna be plenty of opportunities to take some really cool selfies. Before we get started, I just wanna say why I take so many selfies. One, I love them. Two, I think they make a really cool personal sort of travel memory rather than just your generic shot on Instagram of like a really pretty place or you in a pretty place. It sort of adds a little bit more personality, which is great for social media and also great for memories. And three, it's so different to what most people use. A lot of people don't have the confidence to whip out a massive selfie stick in the middle of a public place. So if you can somehow muster up that confidence, you can have an edge on social media because you've got a slightly unique or different brand to most other travel creators out there. And fourth, I am so lonely. Okay, not really, but when you are solo traveling the world, you kind of have to learn how to take photos by yourself because no one else is around, so the selfie stick is great for that. I just watched the footage back and there was another person lurking in the background of my shot. What the actual heck? This is freaking me out. But I will persevere because I am a YouTuber and I have to tell you about selfies. It's such essential information. Okay, but seriously, let's get on with the setup. Oh, and if you already have the gear and already know what settings to use on your GoPro, feel free to skip ahead in this video to where I teach you how to create better selfies. But for everyone else, leave a thumbs up on this video and let's continue. Okay, I think I'm finally alone, so let's go ahead and talk about what gear I use to take my GoPro selfies. The first thing you're gonna need is a selfie stick, a reliable selfie stick. This one is absolutely massive. It is like 130 centimeters or something. But it is one of the most reliable things. I've used it for the past 4 years and it's rarely broken on me ever. This one is made by a company called Sandmark. I'll put all the links below, but you honestly can get whatever selfie stick you want. This is just the one that I prefer. Secondly, you're gonna need a GoPro. Duh. Well, I assume you've already got one since you're watching this video, but if you don't worry. They're one of the most affordable cameras on the market. Plus, you can probably pick one up secondhand for a pretty decent price. The model that I'm using right now is the GoPro Hero 9, which is the latest release, and I know what you're thinking, but Jordan, I don't have the latest model, so I can't take amazing photos like you can. No. I'm gonna shut that down right now because I've used a 4, a 5, a 6, and a 7, and I have taken just as many amazing photos with those cameras as I am this one. The only advantage, I will admit, there is only one advantage to having the latest release, which is the front-facing camera. If you have the front-facing camera, you're just gonna eliminate a lot of guesswork because you can see your centering, your framing, and your perspective. So if you don't have the latest model of something, please don't let that hold you back because trust me, it just doesn't matter that much. And the third thing I use to take amazing GoPro selfies is this little GoPro adapter. I found this little guy on eBay for about 10 bucks and trust me, it has been well worth it. Now, they're not necessary, you don't actually need one if you don't want one, but what I find is that when I add it to the end of my selfie stick, it just allows me to take different angles or different perspectives and the camera can sort of move in different ways that it previously couldn't when it was glued onto the selfie stick directly. So this piece is not necessary, but for 10 bucks, you may as well just buy one and see if you like it. And that completes our beautiful setup of our amazing, cool looking selfie stick. I somehow found my way up to the roof of this abandoned place, so now I know that I am 100% alone and no one's gonna be lurking around at me in the background. But wow, this location is actually so beautiful. Okay, so now that I've changed my settings up here, we have to talk about changing your settings in your GoPro. Okay, that was a terrible segue / attempt at a joke for my next segment, but we have to talk about GoPro settings because GoPro doesn't actually come with a preset selfie setting. Crazy, right? So let's set it up right now. I'm going to run through this really quickly, so feel free to pause the video if you need to take it a little bit slower. You want to go to the left over to time-lapse mode, and then you want to go all the way to the bottom and click the plus to create a new preset. Then select the middle option, which is also called time-lapse mode. The next step is to change the format from video to photo because we're taking selfies. Apart from that, all the other stock settings stay the same. Make sure you have the lens on wide and you have the interval set to 0.5 seconds. That means that you're going to take 2 photos every second. Apart from that, all the other settings can stay the same, although I I do like to change the EV comp depending on the exposure levels outside. If it's a really bright day, you might want to bring the exposure levels down, which is what EV comp does, so -1 is a good place to be. To keep things simple, you can leave all the other settings the same, it's not going to matter. Because I'm always changing the exposure level, I do like to put the EV comp in the shortcuts button so I don't have to go into the main settings to change it constantly. But that's just my preference to save a bit of time, it really doesn't matter too much. And now you're ready to go, so click the tick in the right hand corner and make sure you select the selfie settings so you can title it with selfie and the preset is done. So everything looks good and you can see that I have that shortcut in the left hand side to change the exposure level whenever I want. The final setting you want to change is in photo mode, so you want to swipe all the way over to the right, click on the setting option and make sure it's on burst mode. If you do want to change the burst mode settings, because they might be different to what you actually want, just go into the burst mode settings and make sure you change the burst rate. This setting is going to change depending on what kind of action you are partaking in, so for me I like it on 1/25 or 3/30 for pretty much most activities that I'm going to do. Everything else can be left as is, and that finalizes my selfie settings. Whoa, it is getting so ridiculously hot here at the beach. I am in Mexico, so go figure, but now it is time to go out there with our selfie sticks and get some really cool photos. Let's go. GoPro's biggest advantage is always going to be the fact that it's so tiny and so durable. So you want to use that to your advantage by putting it in random angles and perspectives that other people won't have thought of or seen. And it's an action camera, so bang it up a little, do some jumps, do some flips, do whatever you can to try and make the photo feel like there's some action behind it. Because you are shooting on a GoPro, you want to make sure you're always shooting with blue skies. GoPro is terrible at low light or in overcast conditions. It just doesn't look as good and you won't get that beautiful GoPro color pop. Lighting is going to be super important for your GoPro, just like it is any camera. What I advise you is just play around with the lighting to see what works best. As you can see, if I'm backlit behind the sun, I'm going to be a complete silhouette, where if I'm front lit like this, I might be overexposed, alright? I might just not have enough depth in the photo. My advice is always try and get on a slight angle from the sun to create a little bit of contrast on your body so the photo pops a little bit better. Along with that, you've got to remember that GoPro is a fisheye camera, which means it's absolutely going to distort and bubble out if you get too close to the screen or move too close to the side. This is a great example here because now my hands look like freaking Edward Scissorhands. They're absolutely distorted and warping, so you want to make sure you avoid that at all costs and stay central in the image. The only exception to this rule is obviously if you want to get that cool perspective where you get like sort of a bit of a bubble head like this, or if you want to try and pretend that your legs are way longer than they are. I know this is a great hack for people on Instagram. Is just put your legs as close as you can and warp those babies out and you're gonna have the longest legs in the land. But apart from those reasons, yeah, you should just stay away from the side of the screen and try and keep generally centered in your shots. Here's how the selfie came out. Don't worry, you don't have to stand on the side of a sketchy building to take this selfie. You can do this anywhere and it always looks good. The next thing you want to do is make sure you're always shooting your selfies in portrait mode, not landscape mode. Now what I mean by that is right now I'm in landscape mode. I want to rotate my GoPro like this, and now I'm shooting up and down in portrait mode. This is not only better for buildings, trees, or taking photos of other people, but we live in a digital era where everyone consumes content this way now because we're always addicted and on our phones. So you want to cater to that and take up as much screen space as you can on their newsfeed. And this is the way to do it. Personally, I love taking selfies with the pole on display. I'm proud to say that I use a selfie stick and I am embracing that in my photos, but I do understand that it can be seen as not cool or sometimes it ruins the aesthetic. So if you want to actually get rid of the pole, you can simply just rotate it like that and it will be out of shot. On the left we have a video with the pole in frame, and here is the video on the right, which is the exact same shot but without the pole. Because the GoPro camera is so tiny and small, you can get different perspectives that other cameras just can't. These are going to be really unique to the human eye and you never know what you might get. So my advice is to literally put your camera in any little nook or cranny or hole and you never know what kind of photo you might end up with. Here's one of my photos from earlier today where I literally jammed my selfie stick into the palm fronds and I got some really cool framing perspectives that I otherwise wouldn't have been able to get. Here are two of my favorite selfies I've ever taken using perspective and the fisheye to my advantage. They enlarge the animal and make them the focal point, and yes, that is a goat in a tree. And because you have a long selfie stick, it's kind of like having a really long arm, so I advise you just to swing that thing around, and you never know what kind of perspective you'll end up with. On the left, I'm not using a selfie stick, and on the right, I am. As you can see, they're both really cool perspectives, but the selfie stick just gives it that extra length, and this works great for anything that has an edge or a bit of a drop. Here are two awesome selfies I managed to take using the different perspective with the selfie stick. Here's another example from a waterfall in the Philippines, both from the exact same location, one looking up, one looking down, and they both came out really cool, but still totally unique to each other. Along with having really cool perspectives, the other advantage is the fact that a GoPro camera is an action camera, which means you can get some really cool action photos and videos because it's so durable. So to get better selfies, you need to have some sort of action element, whether that's you running, jumping, backflipping into the water, or you're throwing something, or there's some movement in the shot. Now, I know it's not everyone's desire to climb a massive palm tree to get a selfie, so what we're gonna do is do a few here on the ground that anyone can do by including action into the photo to make it more engaging. This is gonna be very simple. All I'm gonna do is run and jump with a palm tree in the background. After looking back at the images, I am way too far away from the palm tree for my liking because, again, it is a fisheye camera, so we've got to try and keep as close as we can to the main subject, which is me and the palm tree in this case. So to get better framing, I'm gonna literally run underneath this palm tree and just duck last minute and hope that it comes out with a cool shot. And please note, for all of these action photos, we are on burst mode. We're trying to get as many photos as we can within 1 second because the action is happening so quickly. Let's try that one more time. And after getting way closer to the palm tree, I managed to nail the framing, and I made a way more compelling image when I was closer to the palm. Another rule you want to lean on is the rule of thirds, or the leading lines. In this case, I'm in a palm tree, and obviously the photo is going to be way better if I am giving a bit of depth by making a little bit of leading line with that palm going all the way back. Play around with this and maybe open up the angle, because it could create a different dynamic that you might love. As you can see, I really do love the leading lines of palm trees, as it really helps create a complete image. But this is not limited to palm trees. You can do this with a vehicle or any object with substantial size. I just found this coconut on the ground, and I thought it's going to be a great object to create a little bit more action in my photos. So let's throw this thing around and see what we come up with. I really hope this example shows you that something so simple can be so effective, because I love how this came out. All right, this one's going to be dangerous, but we'll give it a go. Here we go. We're just on the ground. We're not actually going to go up the palm tree. Woo! Woo! I love this shot because not only is the perspective awesome because we are on the ground, but it looks like we're in the air, but the coconut falling on my head makes a little comedic aspect to this selfie that I think will do really well on Instagram. Here's another example of action. I'm just gonna make a pile of sand and jump into it, and it should get a really cool photo on burst mode. Let's try it out. This simple concept of action is such an easy way to bring your photos a little bit more life. Plus, with burst mode on, it's really easy to do. And once again, with a simple change of action, we get some really cool results from the same location. I reckon if I spent a little bit more time, I could actually nail that shot, but it's time to get in the water and test out some fun photos in there. For the final example, I've come down to the beautiful, refreshing, I'm dying here, it's so hot, refreshing ocean. I'm gonna take some selfies in here. So what we're gonna do is I'm going to put this camera on burst mode, jump back, and just let the camera capture the perspective of me smashing into the ocean. It should look pretty awesome because it's going to meet our requirements of 1, action, 2, cool perspective. So it's basically a no-brainer. Let's do it. Salty. After having way too much fun jumping into the ocean, I managed to get some really cool shots. I edited all of these photos with my GoPro presets, and I love the way they came out, even though my face was a little bit weird. And just like that, we have a couple absolute banger photos we can post to our socials, along with a really sore back because I slapped hard a couple too many times. Honestly, when it comes to GoPro, it is quantity over quality. I know that sounds reversed or messed up because most of the time it's quality over quantity, but with a GoPro, from my experience, you just have to take a lot of photos, and 1 in every 1,000 will be an absolute banger. So there you go, everyone. That is all my tips and tricks on how to take better GoPro selfies. I hope you learned something. If you did, I would appreciate a massive thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel for more GoPro tutorials. Also, if you want to have better GoPro edits, you can download my preset pack. It's a specific preset pack for GoPro. I use it all the time, and honestly, it's just like one click of a button to get better photos, especially in tropical areas like a beach on Mexico. That is it for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you learned something, enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. What the heck? Goodbye. He left. He left. He left. It's such a hot day in Mexico today that luckily I managed to find some shade. What the heck?